anyị na Chineke na nke pụrụ ihe niile. Onye ọ bụ naanị ya na-azọpụta. Onye ọ bụ naanị ya bụ okwu ya niile bụ ihe na amen. Anyị wee na-asị ezi ebube dị ngọzi na n'ụtụtụ na-eja mma na nsọpụrụ site n'ebighị ebi ma ruo n'ebighị ebi. Ise, ise, ise.
Welcome, my amazing viewers. Thank you so much for joining me on my program once again. I appreciate you wherever you are joining from. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please kindly subscribe to my channel. Click the notification bell so that you're notified each time I upload a video. You will be among the first to receive it. Thank you so much and remain blessed. If you are joining me from Africa, Asia, Europe, America, Australia, or any part of the world, I thank you very much for your contribution. Please, each time you watch my video, go to the comment section and put down your comments. That is
the time where late President Yaradua bring peace for this region. In no saying carry everybody along. The people when no agree accept amnesty, self in talk to them. Then the peace can come, oil can they flow well. Now then say make we protect that oil, make the oil flow well. They can say now one man then go give, make it can guide my community. Ain't getting community, I get my community. Ain't be man, me I be man. They no consult me, then say my person can guide my community where pipeline pass. Shell don't do me, Chevron don't do me. Nah, my own is German, now one can do me. It no go happen. It no go happen, no. Because if they know say all of us now men for this creek where we did, then go call all of us, discuss with us. Now you won't come in another way. Colonial master home pass, multinational home pass. You won't come carry my fellow German, take and enslave me. It no go happen. The pipeline where they talk, he plenty pass from my place, pass the place where they give person to come guide. Now me they go come talk to before they go talk to the other man we get lesser. But if they say equity no good, then person when say equity no good and he won't come to equity with dirty hand, he go see war.
But do you believe in peace in the Niger Delta?
We don't give peace for Niger Delta before, and we're ready to give peace. But if peace, say now the peace where they go come shit me, now graveyard peace, me I no want them.
Well, let's bring in the Vice President of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, Wale Adeni. Thank you so much for being on the news tonight.
Thank you very much.
Listen to all the conversations you had earlier in the day in that program. There was a recurring theme, trust, trust, and trust. The deficit of it, I must say. Who or what would you say created this deficit of trust you're talking about?
It's not for us to put the blame where the deficit came on one party. What we know is that when we're talking about trust, there are so many parties that are involved. It could be between the led and the leaders. It could be between the adults, the youths, and the elder generations and all of that. So the most important thing is that we must learn to trust ourselves. And we're not just talking about this. It's the product of a research that was carried out painstakingly by the NIPR and a survey conducted by the African Survey Group that shows that because of the absence of trust, Nigeria is not a socially cohesive country. So we must address the issue of trust. And how do we address the issue of trust? Communication. We must find a way, an effective way by which we communicate with ourselves.
Right. Public relations officer, I like the fact that, you know, it's about communications. Let's look at the fact that as it stands right now, Nigeria has an image problem. A lot of people would actually agree with that statement. But the truth is, let's talk about how public relations, you know, as image makers, how can professionals like yourself really help change the narrative? Yes, I know insecurity is rife and that's giving us a lot of bad name in the global community, but how can this be handled from the image maker perspective?
If you take it from the external perspective, you talk about the kind of image and perception that they have about Nigerians. But what we are trying to do through this program is for us to take an introspective look at ourselves and ask ourselves whether we are doing enough in terms of how we trust ourselves, in terms of addressing those deficits that you talked about, the gaps that you talked about. If we compare what it was 30, 40 years ago and compare it with what we have now, each time we always think about the fact that we've had the best time of our lives or in the past. And this is what we are now trying to say, okay, how did we get it wrong? Where did we miss it? So as PR professionals, what we do, what we think, what we eat, what we think about all of the time is about building relationships. And we have the capacity to do it because that's our job, that's what we do. And that's what we're telling Nigerians at this part of our national history, that it can be done. And we really don't have to look too far before we get some examples of countries that have walked this route before, and through effective communication, they were able to rediscover themselves and get back on track. Singapore, Indonesia, Rwanda, if you want to come nearer home. So it's just for us to first all agree that we are not where we are, and we can do better than this if we learn to talk to ourselves rather than talk at ourselves, because this is what
You're
we're doing.
talking introspectively now, but I'm talking about the image of the country outside of the nation due to the rife insecurity, and how professionals as yourself can help with that image of the nation. What you have said, really apt, but at the end of the day, let's talk about the image out there because of what we're dealing with as a nation.
All countries in the world have different challenges they face. They all have it. It manifests in different ways. So we cannot run away from the fact that we have that particular challenge. But I tell you one story, and this is what every Nigerian can relate to. If you do have friends, relatives, families, irrespective of all the noise we hear about the security situation in the country, they miss coming to Nigeria. They want to come to Nigeria. Most of the time when they come to Nigeria, they have their families, they have the warmth, the hospitalities, all those things that defines our essence as Nigeria. Happy people, hospitable people, and things like that. These are those things that I would want PR professionals to begin to project to the rest of the world. Yes, it was the Afro King, Fela Anikulapo Kuti, that put it so well. We are suffering, but yet we are smiling. So these are some of the positive aspects that I believe that we can begin to project to the rest of the world, that, you know, we have all of this locked up, the potentials, the milestones that we have reached in terms of in the creative world and things like that. So PR professionals can begin to help us change the narrative by projecting that part of the country. And like I said, it is not just something that is happening in Nigeria. We also have some of these challenges in other parts of the world.
Okay.
Right.
And I hope, or let me ask you, are you suggesting the government then gets the help of PR professionals? Because some will argue that as a government, you do have the spokesperson for the government. Is this an indictment on what the government at all levels and several governments in Nigeria has been doing in the past when you talk about image creation? But I wanted to expatiate on communications and relationships you talked about. You said we should talk to ourselves and not at ourselves. So is it the form of communication? Is it the mode of communication? Or is the message? What exactly is the problem?
I would say it's both, because if you monitor the conversations that we have on social media, most of the time we are not talking to ourselves. So most of the time we are emphasizing those sharp divides, those gaps in between us. So it's either that this guy is saying that, okay, he's from this part of the country, he practices this religion and all of that. So if we are able to moderate those conversations going on online, or when we have political discourse and things like that, and bring out those edifying things, those noble things that defines the essence of Nigeria. I talked about two of them. We are happy people, we are warm people, we are hospitable people. Everywhere, every part of Nigeria, we have some virtues that every community, they subscribe to those virtues. I'm a Yoruba man. We call it the virtue of Omoluabi. So it's respect, it's discipline, it's hard work, it's for you to shun corruptions and all those kind of things. So we have those positive values that we believe that Nigerians can all begin to say, yes, it's time for us to take a step backward and see where we missed it, the collapse of our value system, so that we all begin to say, okay, this is the right way to go. Let's chart a new course for Nigeria. So
are you saying that the government should employ the services of PR personnel?
I would
or you're saying government officials need to become you know, the face and the brand of the governments they serve. What's the message?
Themselves.
I would say the PR professionals will be they are the best that can do this job because they are trained for it. They have the capacity for it. Indeed, the law actually prescribed that job for PR professionals. So if you are not by the provisions of the law, if you are not a PR practitioner, you cannot do that job. But then government must give it support. Government must create that kind of environment where the right people would do.
And of course,
the
give
job.
the opportunity to the professionals to really do it, because that is needed.
Exactly.
But let's look at, you know, the State of the Nation Summit, which you had today. And the aim of it was actually to unite the nation. Would you say after today that aim was achieved, or would you say today was just one talk shop where you just talk and eventually everything and everyone goes back to status quo?
What we had today was an event. What we are trying to do through this project is a process. And we have set a period of 10 years for the Institute and for Nigerians to begin to see how we can walk the talk that we talked about during this conference. We're going to have reports, we're going to have a committee at the end of the day that would monitor and evaluate the implementation. We are going to be working with the relevant agencies of government. And I'm very, very happy that we have very good representation today from the National Assembly. So if we need to tinker with the legal framework, they pledge their commitments. We have the Honorable Minister of Information that represented the President. So we also have the kind of support from the executive. So it's also more important that for Nigerians too, the citizens, because this project is a citizens-driven project. It's citizen-derived, it's citizen-driven. So we also believe that we citizens, you and I will also have our role to play.
As image makers?
Not necessarily as image makers, not necessarily as image makers, but those that, I mean, you trust me, I trust you, you know, we subscribe to a value of one Nigeria, of unity, of peace, of reconciliation.
And we'll stick by it.
Sounds
Exactly.
all good. But,
Well, the Minister, I need to sorry quickly.
You mentioned the survey earlier, and
Exactly.
I want to take you up on that. Across the country, you said, what was the most profound thing you found out in this survey about Nigeria and Nigerians?
Yeah, it's because, I mean, there are a lot of things that were thrown up in the survey. The fact that there are a lot of grievances held by different groups in Nigeria. The fact that the youths, they are really, really very displeased with what is going on. Of course, we know we had the NSAS program, the NSAS protest very recently in Nigeria. So these have created so much problems within us, and this is making the citizens no longer trusting the government. And at a time, you also discover that the citizens are no longer trusting themselves. So it's, you know, it has several dimensions.
All right, and I even see ethno-social issues as well in terms of the trust issue. But quickly, the Minister of Information did say misinformation and fake news is exacerbating insecurity. Do you agree with that submission? Quickly.
Very, very well. I agree with it because a good number of, so many Nigerians have been victims of fake news in whatever ramifications. So we have so many Nigerians now on social media, those ones that are very, very popular with them. And not all users of this platform are gullible enough, or you know, they have the capacity to separate the grain from the chaff. So when they say it, they believe it hook, line, and sinker, and it affects the way they think, it affects the way they act, it affects the way they react to issues. So I believe fake news is a very big problem, and we must find a way to manage it effectively.
All right. I beg your pardon. The Vice President of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations here on the news with us. Thank you so much for your time. We do appreciate it.
The time where late President Yaradua bring peace for this region, in no say carry everybody along. The people when no agree accept amnesty, self in talk to them. Then the peace can come, oil can they flow well. Now then say make we protect that oil, make the oil flow well. They can say now one man then go give, make it can guide my community. Ain't get in community, I get my community. Ain't be man, me I be man. They no consult me. They say, my person can't guide my community where pipeline pass. Shell don't do me. Chevron don't do me. Now my own German, now one can't do me. It no go happen. It no go happen, no. Because if they know, say, all of us now men for this creek where we did, then go call all of us, discuss with us. Now you won't come in another way. Colonial master home pass, multinational home pass. You won't come carry my fellow German and take and enslave me. It no go happen. The pipeline where they talk, it plenty pass from my place, pass the place where they give person to come guide. Now me they go come talk to before they go talk to the other man we get lesser. But if they say equity no good, then person when say equity no good and he won't come to equity with dirty hand, he go see war.
But do you believe in peace in the Niger Delta?
We don't give peace for Niger Delta before, and we're ready to give peace. But if peace, say now the peace where they go come shit me, now graveyard peace, me I no want them.
Thank you so much for your patience to watch from the beginning to the end. I hope you have learned something from the video you have just watched. The video you have just watched is to bring information to your doorstep and for educational purpose. It is not to demonize anybody. Let us watch continuously and see who can be able to make a sense out of every nonsense we are seeing. We must continue. We move. It doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter what they say. They will kill us. Kill them. At the end of the day, Biafra is here. Thank you for watching. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please kindly subscribe to the channel. Click the notification bell so that you're notified each time I upload a video. You will be among the first to receive it. Thank you and remember blessed. Bye-bye. See you again.